This episode is so awesome. My guests are Adam and Vanessa Lambert. They are the owners of Be the Wellness. They have been doing transformation retreats and big epic adventures for 13 years now. They're a husband wife duo, and they are also my partners on my retreats. I partnered with them because they are masters of the retreat space. I was such a fan of their work before I got into retreats, and then I found out they wanted to help people, and I was like, yep, please. So I have co-hosted 3 retreats with them now. We have another one coming up in Tulum, Mexico. That's April 23rd through 27th. So we're going to talk a little bit about that retreat at the end. And I hope you will join me if this is pinging at you at all. It is going to be beyond epic. All of my retreats have been, yeah, I think they're the coolest thing that I offer, period. Just being real. Before that, though, in this episode, we're getting into some really cool conversation, just talking about the power of getting out of your normal day-to-day, creating epic experiences for yourself, building a community, being intentional about all that, and the kind of impact that can have on your life. So I really hope you'll listen today, because I think it will get you thinking about zooming out on your life. And, because we as adults, we get so day to day, we get kind of bogged down on that day to day, and I got to do this, and I got this, and I got next. Zooming out, and it's like, basically, like, what do I want my quality of life to be like? What do I want to look back at? Am I being intentional about creating these types of experiences for myself? And listen to them. I mean, they have been doing this nonstop for 13 years. One of my clients just went on their Nepal trip recently. They were in Egypt before that. I mean, they've been doing this a lot for a long time, and it's really cool to hear their insights. So I hope you guys enjoy. Before we get into it, I do want to give a big thank you to our sponsor, Peluva. Peluva are Mark Sisson's barefoot shoe with the toes separated. I have been absolutely loving them. You may have seen me wearing them on my social media lately. They are so good for your biomechanics, helping your body walk the way it was supposed to, helping your feet become stronger, having better posture, better balance. I'm in love. So if you would like to check them out, you can go to peluva.com/Coach Tara, and you can get 15% off, or you can just enter the coupon code Coach Tara, but that / will take you right there. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Here is Adam and Vanessa Lambert of Be the Wellness. All right, so Adam and Vanessa Lambert, the retreat, the king and queen of amazing, badass, holistic retreats that you guys, holy cow, like, have gone anywhere from like music festival vibes to like Egypt to like, Nepal, like all over the world, Iceland. I'll let you guys get into it. But before we kind of actually, you know what? Let's get into it.
Okay,
Let's
let's
set
do
the
it.
stage a little bit for what you guys have been up to in the last decade or so.
Yeah.
Where you guys been? What you been up to? Let's set the stage so people get a vibe for what you guys are doing.
Okay.
Hit it, Adam.
So, I mean, we've been together seemingly forever now, like 22 years in October, right? So, or no, married for 22 years in
Yeah.
October. So it's been but the business has been around. I think we're going on 13 years since the inception of Be the Wellness, and ultimately it started. We were doing remote coaching, health and fitness, mindfulness, mindset stuff. And then this was kind of like before everybody was into remote coaching, like we were
Yeah,
like early adopters before there was any
for
good
sure.
technology to make it easy. And what we ended up with was all of these people all around the world who ultimately, found a sense of community in our online world and then wanted to like bring that together in the real world. And so we were like, okay, let's do retreats. And I mean, we have that just works. It worked as a way to get people together. It worked as a way to kind of like solidify a lot of the coaching and stuff that we were doing. So you teach people how to do stuff online, and then you get
Right.
together with them in person, and like 2 minutes in person is like 7 months online, frequently.
Totally.
And, we just had people that kept coming back, right? And they're like, okay, we're back to our what we called our transformation retreats in the beginning. And then pretty soon they're like, okay, we know all of this stuff.
We
Like,
transformed.
can we go somewhere? Let's do this somewhere else, And so then we started, taking our trips abroad and kind of really trying to mix the wellness component, the fitness and mindset and nutrition aspects of it, but then merge that a little bit more into bucket list destinations and adventures where you can kind of put some of that stuff to use, because that was sort of one of
Yeah.
the other sort of founding principles, was like, what are we doing with all of this fitness and health and all of the,
Right.
when we outgrew CrossFit, we're like, now what are we going to do with all this? So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's that's a very condensed version, but I mean, at this point, I think we've been almost to every continent. I mean, we're lacking at Antarctica,
Antarctica, but we're trying to
but
solve
we're
it.
working on it. We're working on that one.
We're
If
working on
anyone gets there on a retreat, it's you guys.
it. Yeah, it's like it's in the mix. Had a
Yeah.
call this week.
Yeah, and then Vanessa, like maybe you can share, like, can you give them kind of a run? Tell us about some of the experiences you guys have created, like where you've been. Just,
Yeah.
like I think of the one I went to in Zion, you had like Parangi, it was like this crazy cool music festival. Like kind of explain like some of the experiences you guys have created.
Yeah, so like Adam said, we started more with just like coaching retreats and getting people in the mix. And then we started taking people to Costa Rica and then Peru. And the whole thing was like training for the adventure of life. So basically, it
Love
was
it.
like, okay, we're doing all this training, we're trying to take care of ourselves. Like, let's go put it into action. Let's go to the jungles of Costa Rica. Let's go hike, to Machu Picchu and the Salcantay trek. And let's just like, let's actually use this fitness for something really
Yeah.
magnificent in the world. So we started in Costa Rica and then Peru and then, yeah, Iceland, Egypt, Nepal, safaris in Africa. What am I forgetting?
I mean, it just goes on and on.
It goes on and on,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, and B Fest,
Yeah.
And then,
obviously.
yeah, and then B-Fest, which is
Yeah.
our really like my kind of heart center event because it's really kind of bringing all of the elements that we love. And I know that you love too, Tara. It's like the music and the
Mhm.
workouts and the meditation and the movement and the community and the yummy food and just bringing it all together as one big celebration. And the idea is that all of our people that have traveled with us over the years and have gone on the hikes and the treks and all the experiences can come together kind of under one roof and just celebrate and be part of all of
Yeah.
the experiences that we really love as individuals and I think collectively.
Mm. Yeah, I noticed when I came to your Bee Fest that you did in Utah in Zion National Park, like I could tell that I was walking into, there might be some new people like me who were fully welcomed and like felt totally at ease. And I could also tell that there were a lot of people who like they come to all of these. Like they are just like Adam, Vanessa, you make it, we're there. And
Yeah.
so tell me about that, because like I think it's really cool that you've created that kind of community, and I feel like we're doing this thing together now, and it's that's starting to happen too, and it's really cool. So like
So cool.
in terms of because like okay, let me back this up. I used to think retreats were just like, oh, I guess those are just like something for rich people to do because they're bored and they have a ton of expendable income and they just want to go, retreat from their life or whatever. But
Yeah.
that's not it. I mean, for some people, like that is a massive investment that they make. It's not like they're just rolling in the dough and, I mean, granted, there's those people too.
Yeah.
But like for a lot of people, it's like, no, I prioritize this. This is like an investment that I make in my life for a reason. And so,
Yeah.
like, yes, the community aspect is part of that, but can you describe a little bit more why you think that that is happening? Like, what kind of value do people get out of these experiences that keep them coming back for more and more, besides just having fun and something cool to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, well, we'll both have a perspective on this,
Probably
I
yes.
think. I think one of the major things, and I've actually been thinking about this a lot lately because, like we were talking about, like we do this sort of as a service, and so I do a lot of thinking about copywriting and like, what is it that we're actually doing? Why
Right.
do people keep coming back? Because like you said,
Right.
we have people who've been on 18 trips or 18 retreats with us, and it's insane. You're like, wow, okay, you're just going to come to all of these? Yes, I'm going to come to all of these. And I think what it comes down to, and I mean, and we've asked, and for feedback all the time, like, what's the deal? What? And they're like, I don't know. There's just something about the people. And I think that is what it
Mm.
really comes down to. I mean, the content, you got to nail the content. You know what I mean? Everything has to be cool. Parangi's, sound has to be
Yeah.
good. And like all of these things have to be
You
true.
guys nail it too. Was top notch.
We
Really
try.
try.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think the thing that just keeps people coming back every time is the actual community itself. It's the people that they're going to meet, and it's this interesting blend of similarities, but definitely not the same people. Meaning,
Right.
like, you're gonna come and sit down at dinner, and you could be sitting across from someone who's in real estate, and they're like, "Yeah, I mean, I close $15 million deals all the time, and I'm just like trying to get back into nature, you know." And then
Yeah.
like the next person over maybe is like, I, came here on a scholarship, like I'm barely
Right.
keeping this together, but like I do X, Y, or Z, and I'm an artist and I paint these amazing things, and and they just have such different things to contribute. And
Hmm.
I think that the container that's created in these experiences is one that like kind of washes all of that stuff away and allows the people to just get to know each other in a way that
Yeah.
it's hard to do. There's just not that many circumstances in life where people who are maybe on that opposite ends of the socioeconomic spectrum or political spectrum or any spectrum, are really
Right.
get a chance to sit and feel like they're in a safe place to talk about it, because neither of them are there for any of those reasons. Like, they showed up because there's something they think is cool that's going to happen here. And so it opens up a dialogue that
Hmm.
I just don't think people are getting much of. And so once you find that,
Totally.
you're like, I want to go back. And then you
More,
layer on top
please.
of it like a cool place they want to go anyway.
Right.
And,
Bomb food
they're
and
in. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Handle all of the objections that you would normally have, like, oh, but I have dietary restrictions. Oh, but like whatever. Like, okay, handled, handled, handled. I've
Yeah.
never traveled by myself. Okay, no problem. All that.
Yeah. Yeah. You do a really good job of taking care of everybody for sure. And Vanessa, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I think it's actually really similar, and I've been thinking about this a lot as well. And I think this actually, Tara, you could totally relate to this, but I was trying to figure out like what kind of drives us in general, what the general motivation is for everything we create, whether it's be the wellness or, coaching a program, or like what is the actual like root soul contract, you could say. And I was kind of brought back to this moment in a plant medicine ceremony, actually, where I remembered like the moment of like dropping down, into onto planet Earth and like being here and being like, I'm here, like who's excited to meet me, and I have this moment of in my consciousness of being so excited of being here. And I have this memory of like nobody being there. Like there's nobody to welcome me. There's nobody to like, open their arms and say like, I'm so glad you're here. We've been waiting for you. Like we love you. And this theme of like really fundamentally feeling like I don't belong anywhere, I'm not like open, like welcome with open arms, has probably fueled everything that we've created, honestly. Like to
Wow.
create the spaces where people really feel like there's someone that's like, come on in, like you are
Mhm.
welcome here. And like we got you. And even more like we've been waiting for you. We're so glad you
Yeah.
finally made it here, And
Yeah.
I know it sounds kind of crazy, but like when I located that core memory and that core experience, I was like, that is why we do what we do. We do
Wow.
that so people feel like there's a place they're truly, truly, truly welcome. And all the other stuff, the food and the activities and all that, we check the boxes so that your like conscious mind can say like, yes, this is worth
Yeah.
my money.
The
Yes, it's okay
pencils.
for me to go to this. Like they're doing a good
Mm.
job. But the truth is, and I think this is why people come back, is that they actually feel truly welcome. And maybe
Yeah.
they have never ever felt that way before.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's so powerful. And I completely agree. I was, when I first started getting testimonials, we asked people for testimonials. I mean, that was in pretty much every testimonial, if not the entire thing, was like, I just really appreciated finding a community of like-minded people. I loved like the community. I loved the people. And I'm like, well, geez, I don't have to do much. Just kidding.
Yeah.
But I can really relate with you. First of all, really weird timing you're saying that, because my sister and I just got in a deep conversation about like birth experiences about this. And for me, I've always felt this way. My birth story is I came so fast that my mom couldn't even make it out of the bed. I was born at home. My dad, she was like, nope, baby's coming right now. And my dad said I was born like with my eyes wide open. He's like, I have never seen a newborn. Like, you look like you were like 9 months old level of like, hey, everybody, here I am. and, and I've had my whole life these experiences of like, we're here. That came into my meditation this morning. It was just like, nothing to worry about. You're here. And that,
Yeah.
like, I got this huge smile on my face. I was like, yeah, I'm here, so it's a deep thing for me. I love life. If there's multiple lives, I'll do this like millions of times if I can. I think it's super rad. It's like such a crazy adventure and so fun. But also I think from my religious background, being raised Mormon, I was kind of like trained to think of welcoming people, think about people who might feel left out, and then on top of it, having gone through my own pain and my own suffering that brought me to where I am now, like I totally it brings me so much joy for every single person to feel like they matter, and like there is no cliques here, there is no club, like everyone is like so welcome and so seen and so respected and so appreciated. And I felt that when I went to yours too. And no doubt that that's the vibe, because I mean, 18 retreats back to back. It's gotta be, you gotta feel pretty welcome there to become 18 times in a row.
For sure. Well, one of the amazing things about Meg, who that is,
Yeah.
is that like she became, after, I don't know, 3 or 4 retreats, she basically was like part of the person who sets that container.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's the thing that, and I
That's
know that
cool.
you're experiencing this as well, because you have so many people who continue to come back to the retreats, is they know what to expect and how it's going to be. And so
Yeah.
anybody who's new that rotates in is just like
Yeah. They get to
flooded.
step into that leadership.
Yeah.
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 And I saw that even in your WhatsApp group beforehand, it's like people are like pulling people in, making it friendly. Hey, it's cool. It's not some weird, stuffy thing. Like we can be funny and we can joke and like,
It's
who's
all
gonna
gonna
give me a
work out.
ride
Yeah.
from the
Totally.
airport? And like, yeah, it's a really
Yeah.
cool
Yeah, the
vibe.
party starts way before the
Yeah.
actual date, for sure.
I'm not sure if you guys can think of anything off the top of your head, but like, okay, for example, my first retreat that you guys helped me do in Zion, there was a woman there with like a really, really high level job that I won't say where, but it's a recognizable company. Okay. And at the retreat, she had this epiphany of like, I got to get out of there.
Hmm.
And she had some clarity come in of what what her career shift would involve. It was just these random loose details. She's laughing as she's telling me this. She's like, I have no idea why I wanted those things to be included. I have no background in that. Like it was so weird and so out of left field. And like a month later, she got offered a very prestigious position that involved that quality. I'm trying to be really vague because I don't want to,
Yeah. Yeah.
go against any privacy or anything.
Right.
And I was like, wow, that just came up from like one of our little workshops of talking about potential and blah, blah, blah. And it really changed her life course, that moment at the retreat. And I was just wondering if you could share, can you think of any? I know it's kind of tough because you don't want to like violate privacy too, but how has attending these retreats positively impacted people's lives? Can you think of anything?
Yeah,
Oh
it's
man.
almost like there's one, if you think of a category in which transformation can occur,
Yeah.
like
Right.
the only thing that hasn't happened yet is a
Oh,
marriage from
yeah.
our
Yeah.
retreats. Like, I'm like, that's the one thing that I'm like,
That's
okay,
the one
who's
box we
gonna
haven't
get
checked.
married? But I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
New careers.
yeah, so many new careers, and like you said, people that just all of the sudden, like it just switches their trajectory. And I think that this is what retreats do, is they actually create a container where you can like hop timelines. It's like you're on
Yeah,
one trajectory, you're on one path.
totally.
Yeah, and it looks like, this is the kind of the job you work, and these are the foods you eat, and this is the experiences you have, and then all of a sudden you get onto a different timeline, and you're like, oh my gosh,
Totally.
I'm gonna have a completely different life than I was gonna have
Yeah.
before. And
Well said.
it's not an over exaggeration, and
No, it's not.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's crazy because it sounds woo and it sounds like, oh yeah, we went through a portal. You're like, no, we really did. We went
Yeah,
through
I've
a portal.
experienced it because you get
Yeah.
out of that element, that routine rut kind of stuff, and it's kind of this moment if something's misaligned, and you
Yeah.
get in this safe environment, with people that uplift you, mentors like you, like guides, facilitate experiences, you kind of have this like, what am I doing
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of moment,
A
you
hundred
know?
percent. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just also are surrounded by this kind of energy where people are willing to meet you as that new version of yourself right now.
Yeah.
They're
'Cause they
not,
don't know you as anybody
yeah,
else.
you're not
Right.
unwinding all of these ideologies, and you're not like with your family or, some these people that hold you in a certain container. You can make that up level, and then people will instantly recognize you as that. And so you become that identity very quickly. And I
Wow.
think that, add on to that these really sacred PowerPoints that we're all going to. I mean, you're going to be in
Yeah.
Tulum.
Yep.
These places have an activating kind of accelerating force to them.
Yep.
And, having just got back from Egypt and Nepal,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, calm down. Like, we cannot go anywhere else.
Just
Like, we need to
settle down.
integrate what just
Totally.
happened. But you go
Totally.
to these really powerful, energetic zones. You do this kind of up leveling and spiritual work or physical work or whatever it is, whatever the container is. And it is literally magic. Like, things just come together, and people have got new relationships, they've started new businesses. Some people have left partnerships that aren't working. There's the opposite of that too, where there's a real clarity around, you know what, this
Yeah.
actually isn't working, and I'm going to exit out of a part of my life that has been needing to shift and go. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, it is like it's all fun and games, but it's also deep, deep work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that one of the things, because I mean, there's so many like specific examples that, we could sort of go through, and people are just like, we're like, oh, here it comes, because
Right.
it's like once you do enough of these things, you can kind of look across the group after like day two, and you're like, well, let's see, some things are getting
She had the
shaken up
ego
over
death.
here,
She had the,
It's when she's not about
Right.
this anymore.
yeah.
But then
Yeah.
sometimes it's some subtle shift that maybe the person doesn't even necessarily notice, but all of the sudden their supervisor at work or their family members or somebody who knows
Right.
them well is all of a sudden like, you're not the same anymore. Like what's going on here? Like what did you do? And I'm like, well, the only thing I can think of in the last however many months is I summited Salcantay Pass at 15,000 feet, and it was hard. And you're like, well, it changed you,
Yeah.
like you come back from that as a fundamentally different person. And sometimes you don't even know, that
Yeah.
whatever that aspect of you has been shifted a little bit, but people around you will notice. I mean, I think a lot of it comes back to a level of self-confidence that you can acquire in these sort of experiences. And that comes from, we like to use Salcantay because it's the highest place that we've ever been. I mean, 15,200 feet. It's no joke, especially if you come from sea level, it's no joke to do that. And so there's people who are incredibly intimidated by that concept. They're also intimidated about traveling to South America. They're intimidated to go with a group of people that they don't know, and they're not sure if they're the fittest person. And they have all of these
Right.
negative self-beliefs or negative self-talk anyway, of like worries and all of this stuff. And when you can bring them into this container and usher them through this process where they're ultimately successful, the other side of that is a massive release, and so much newfound respect and confidence for yourself. It's like, and your physical body, and like, oh my God, I didn't know that this thing could do this, and like we pulled it
Mhm.
off, and the ways that manifests is, I mean, you just never know how that's going to eke out into the rest of your life.
Yeah, you're making me think like I'm like, man, we need like a research study that you guys can run it. But I'm like, I bet that's really good for your brain, like as you age, right? Like having these new novel experiences and like, think of like you're just sitting at home all the time and then now you're like in Nepal.
Yeah.
Like, doing like base camp. That's insane. That's got to be so good for not only your brain, like physically, but also for your, like you're saying, Adam, like your understanding that so many things are possible to you that maybe you hadn't considered before, right? That it's a
Yeah.
visceral experience of I can do outside of the box things.
Yeah.
And it's not uncommon for people out there that like, I think a lot of people think that you're just like, yeah, I want to go on retreat. This is awesome. And you're just 100% yes. But the truth is, like, everyone has to talk themselves into these experiences. You do kind of have to know, like, okay, this is going to be worth the effort, the time, the money, because
Right.
ultimately these outcomes are important to me. And one of those main outcomes I think that people need to be aware of is like living smaller as they get older.
Hmm.
You know, and I see this a lot,
Yeah.
even just in my family or just looking around. It's like as we get older, it's a lot easier to shrink and get smaller and get more fearful or more worrisome. And so you almost have to fight against that a little bit and be
Yeah.
like, no, I'm going to keep stretching. I'm going to keep growing. I'm going to keep like
Yeah.
expanding my horizons because the default setting is not always, hell yeah, let's go. And so
Totally.
I think it's important for people to know that that's why, you know, when you create a container like you do, Tara, and you take care of all the things, that helps appease people's worry and their sensitivity to their safety and if it's okay.
Right.
And then they only have to do the struggle of like the emotional bit of like, okay, I know this is a stretch for me to fly out of the country or go with people I don't know. If you can kind of
Right.
knock off some of the like low
Totally.
hanging fruit, then they can give themselves permission to like just do the inner work that gets them to the location and then the magic can happen.
Yeah, yeah. I have to add my my son Kyle, he's 14. He's very observant, very he just notices things, puts things together. And he's like and he's the sweetest kid ever. So I have to frame that up before I say this. He goes, "Adults are so lame. They don't do anything. Like they can't do anything cool. Like I mean, not very many of them like they can't like flip over. They can't even jump. Most adults I bet they can't even jump."
So true. Yeah.
That's
And
what
this
he's
is true.
observing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
you're
it's so
exactly right. We have to kind of make sure we don't just get into this narrow little like I just sit on my chair and watch TV all day eating my peanut M&Ms. No, I
Because
yeah.
no.
it's so crazy. I mean, this is how, like, I mean, I think I've been saying this since I turned 25. I was like, man, time keeps going faster. But like now that I'm 49 or 8,
Yeah,
48,
it's one of
whatever,
those. Yep.
it's like so fast. I mean, it goes by
Totally.
so quickly. And yeah, you sit down and you're like, I'm just gonna, I don't know, scroll Facebook or read or whatever and sit down. And next thing you know, 5 hours have gone by. And you're like, oh, well,
Totally.
I guess it's time to go to bed. We'll try this again tomorrow. You know what I mean? And you see, like you can just see as you get older, you
Yeah,
just don't notice that you haven't done anything unless you're like being really intentional about it. And I do
totally.
think that, you know, like if you listen to the like the flow genome guys, you know, the
Yeah.
Superman or whatever, those
Uh-huh.
guys, they Kotler and whatever.
Jamie Wheel.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Will. Yeah.
Their whole thing of hedonic calendaring. I can't remember which book this was in, but it stuck with me. And it's basically
Stealing thing.
putting something on your calendar that is like, okay, I got to do this thing. And whether it's, you know, something that's just brings joy to your life, like what's missing potentially from your life, you know, okay, I'm
Yeah.
going to go to a music festival or I'm going to do a whatever, like
Right.
making sure that these things are actually on your calendar so that you're
Totally.
always looking forward to and potentially training for those things is
Mhm.
just like, and that's an incredible habit to develop because you know, it keeps you frosty, so to speak, you know, because otherwise, like you said, you know, peanut M&Ms and the phone, I'm good for like a week.
100%. You're
You know?
like, I'm just going to Target and cooking this food and going to sleep. And it's just, yeah. And we've all had that experience of like, I did prioritize the trip. I did prioritize the music festival. And you're like, why don't I do this all the time?
Yeah,
What have I been doing with my life?
yeah,
You
Yeah.
know? So
totally.
we
And
know.
and then there's the flip side of it too, where there's people who have had a lot of experiences and do have access to a lot, and they can almost have the same sort of, you know, humdrum experience about life because they're like, I could do that. Like, I could
Yeah.
just book this trip, but I mean, Peru. Well, I already did Patagonia. That's pretty much like Peru, you know.
Starts with a P. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so there does start to be this, you know, I don't know, just this melancholy.
Complacent. Complacency.
This complacency, this,
Yeah.
you know, and you have to engage yourself and get excited about taking opportunities and just putting yourselves in those spaces, because it can be either that it's really hard for you to do it, or it's so easy that you're like, I could do that, but I'm not. I'm gonna stay
Yeah.
home.
I'm just
I'm
gonna
just
say.
And well, and that's why, like, I think retreats also are so cool for people that they have traveled a lot, because those are novel experiences. You're not going to have just booking a trip somewhere. You're not going to get into like a sweat lodge ceremony with us, like we're doing in Tulum, or like,
Yeah.
having these interesting, like cold plunging breath work, private cenote experiences. You know what I mean? With people that care about you and have created this whole experience that all flows together. That is not the same as just, I'm gonna go to Tulum. Not
Yeah,
even
I have,
remotely close.
yeah, like I have my travel agent and we booked this thing and we're
Right.
gonna go visit and do Tulum. And I mean, it really is true. It's like, especially in a place like Tulum, because there are so many cool little things to do, and there's,
Right.
with all of the sort of spiritual components and just the wellness stuff that's available down there, you could go and end up in staying in one of the kind of party aspects of town. And I mean, which is an experience too,
Yeah.
and shop, and shop to your heart's content and then leave. And you're like, well, okay, I did Tulum. I'm not sure it was for me,
Right.
Yeah.
and then
Right.
like, and in this experience, you're going to a curated experience and in this case, because we have Jeff down there who,
Yeah.
amazing, Jeff Dobney, who's going to be leading the breathwork ice bath private cenote cliff jumping experience. You get into places that, I mean, even us, like we're a very experienced travel company, and without making these local connections, it's very difficult to really experience a place in its full richness. And yeah, you're
I
Tulum.
I just have to say real quick, in case anybody's listening, I have to, and you're looking for help with like the planning side of your retreats, because that's what you guys do for me. But I don't know how I've already told you guys this personally, but I'm like, I don't know how you find these people. How do you do it? Like, it is like almost like it is a huge value add. Every single facilitator, from like the shaman at our first retreat and the yoga person to our, breath work in Maui to, I'm like, perfect. Perfect. Oh, to our nature guide, our ropes guys, like how
Oh
it,
yeah.
Oh,
anyway, I
yes,
so
Yeah.
appreciate that like insane skill that you guys have for that, because we have just had the most amazing, perfect facilitators that you have found locally at all these places. So thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're welcome.
it's so fun because it's like all of a sudden you just start curating like these little tethers of
Mhm.
of people that you love and that you trust, and that okay, if this person knows that person and they recommend them, like
Yeah,
the vibrations there, you're like, okay, that's
right.
gonna be our kind of person. And it just creates this little network around the globe. And it is crazy. Like we have
Yeah.
some amazing, just salt of
Yeah,
the earth, beautiful people that just, yeah, and it makes a difference. It makes a
Yeah.
huge
yeah.
difference because
Huge. It's
yeah,
very appreciated. Very
yeah,
valued.
yeah.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
definitely can tell, right? Like the difference between whatever, get your guide or whatever. I went on the app and I found a guy who does this
Right.
versus, somebody who's really, really passionate about the
Uh-huh.
place. I mean, and it kind of goes to this is a whole soapbox. I'll try to not step on it completely, but it goes to one of our sort of core ethos, which is around reducing travel, excuse me, travel leakage, which is trying to just keep the money that people are spending in the communities and circulating in
Yeah.
the communities that we're visiting,
Right.
which means going, kind of the extra mile on understanding, like, well, are these local businesses, who are they, like, who is your guide going to be when we pay this money to these people? Where does it go, and how does this, how does all this stuff work? And what we've just found to be almost universally true is that when you do that work, you find these really incredible people, because
Yeah.
Wow.
like frequently they're kind of the hidden gems. They're spending all of their time doing their
Yeah.
as opposed to creating a big fancy website and making sure that they're available on every platform and all of this kind of stuff.
Right.
So yeah, just
And they
diligence.
love the
That's
place,
cool.
they
Yeah.
have a deep like care and connection to
Right.
the place, which always just sparks a different relationship. And we
Mhm.
were just in Nepal and we had this incredible guide, Raj, and he's born and raised there, and it's like he
Mhm.
raises kids and all the kids do aspects of the work, and it's just like this is what you want to find. You want to find like the heartbeat of that place and then tap
Yeah.
into that main line.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so cool. Thanks for sharing that. Like kind of what brings you to those type of people is, honestly like what people kind of call karma, right? It's like you have good intentions, you care, you want to make sure that you're having a good impact so that you then find people who are in that same vibration. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
amazing. Okay, well, it's kind of to wrap it up. Let's talk about Tulum a little bit because you
Yeah.
guys are the masterminds finding all these different amazing experiences for us. And by the way, like everywhere we've been so far with you guys, we were like, where did you find these hiking guides? I'm like, Adam and Vanessa. Where did you find her? Adam and Vanessa. Wow, that was just perfect.
Exactly
Our
right there.
surfing people were perfect in
Yeah.
Mount, our hiking guides, like unreal. So let's talk about Tulum and what you guys have lined up a little bit there. What are you guys excited about in terms of the Tulum one coming up?
Well, I mean, I'm excited about the Jeff's whole thing.
Yeah.
That's going to be remarkable. And so and I don't want to, well, you can't even give away the punchline, excuse me, just speaking about it, but he and his partner are going to facilitate a breathwork and cold immersion and sound bath experience that is, if you can imagine, like those modalities kind of mixed together become kind of a ceremony, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, without a doubt,
Mhm.
like
Without a doubt.
there's going to be you're going to shift your consciousness during the course of that thing and round it out with a sound bath and then some really nice food in a private cenote with the opportunities to do some cliff jumping
Yeah.
with
Gonna be so
various,
fun.
various levels. But I think that that's going to be a really, really special experience. And it's one, just because of the nature of Tulum being kind of long and skinny, it's like we're doing a lot of stuff on site, just to minimize drive time and everything. And so it's going to be a nice excursion to kind of get away from
Yeah.
the beach and out into, some freshwater cenotes and kind of get that experience.
Mhm.
Yeah, Jeff and his partner are just amazing. They're amazing humans. And so it's, he's like a Wim Hof type, from a breathwork practitioner perspective, but he's also a world class free diver, like world class free diver, and so his breath hold, like he kind of
So
blends
cool.
those two things together. And so, he's like, well, I don't really want to oversell it, but most people will be able to hold their breath underwater for like 4 minutes. I'm like, okay,
I know. That's why
but you
we
don't
did an
have
Instagram live,
to.
and I was like, he was like, I can get you holding it for, I can't remember what he said now, but it was definitely longer than I was like, are you sure, bro? Like,
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not strong there.
So I mean, and of course you don't, you don't have to go for any sort of world records and stuff,
Yeah.
but if you can just imagine the sort of physiological changes that you can, get with that
Mm,
kind of coaching, that's going to be amazing.
And the
Obviously,
the
Temescal, yeah,
temescal, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I feel like the temescal is such sacred medicine, and to get people into those circles and into that energy, I mean, it's really similar to plant medicine journey or breath work. All of these things are just another access points into your consciousness. But I think the temescal,
mhm.
particularly when you're in that kind of Mayan
yeah,
Aztec kind of energy and culture, it takes on a different tone, it takes on a different energy, and I think that is going to be really magical.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
That is doing the medicine in the place that the medicine comes from, and in this case, the Temescal is very much from that region. I mean, it's been, lots of people have done it in different ways, but the way that they do it there in the big pizza oven, essentially, it's amazing. People are really, you can get a lot out of that. It's not just a sauna session. So I think
Mhm.
that's going to be really cool. So you've got these two things that are a little bit deep and a little bit ceremonial, but also, physical, which I
Yeah.
like. And then, of course, Jungle Gym is going to be an iconic
Yeah.
experience, and get
Gotta
to,
do it.
yeah, that's going to be super.
Yeah, I'm pumped for that. I'm
Yeah,
pumped that we have it all to ourselves. That's gonna be
yeah,
so rad. And yes, definitely bring your cameras if you're coming. I'm excited also about our venue because I've been making some social media content, and so I'm seeing more and more videos of it. I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's causing me to imagine. Like, I think one of my favorite parts of the retreat so far is just seeing the energy of my people who are there, seeing this like lightness, this like happiness, this inner child kind of
Yeah.
coming out in them. Oh, I
Yeah.
just imagine this. I like the non-structured moments where we're just like having these connected times, like just talking. And like you said earlier in the episode, Adam, of like it's the most you would never guess. And I always feel like the people who are meant to be there are like I feel like all the attendees are teachers for each other. Like it's like couldn't be more perfect. I'm like, huh, thank you so much, that guy, for coming because she really needed to see your energy and you really need to see her energy. Thank you so much for being here. You know what I mean? So it's just those moments are so special. Those like the connection that's happening inside of someone themselves. Like I can see it. You can see their energy. It's like it's freer, it's happier, it's them. They're not so bogged down by like the pressures of life. They can be playful, they can be quiet even. They might not be a playful person, but they just seem at peace, being quiet and calm. And then the connection between the people is definitely and with me too, because I'm pretty playful. So I
Yeah.
like to
Yeah,
play with my peeps. So I'm
you
excited
are.
for just that connection.
I
Oh, for
feel like
sure.
that's something that I want people to know when they're listening to this is just like watching you, Tara, and like how full of joy you are to be in that space and to be holding
Yeah,
that
big
space.
time.
And we've been through this many times together now. Like running a retreat is no joke, taking on the stress and the financial part and all of the things. Like you've laid it on the line to create these spaces. And when you show up and you see you in that environment, it's like it's so cool because it's just part of your dharma. It's part of how you're meant to
Yeah.
serve. And
Mhm.
it's like your people are really, really lucky. They have a coach and a teacher and someone that is just willing to hold that space and welcome them in and let them have the opportunity for those sweet moments, and
Yeah.
it's really special to witness you.
Yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate that. It feels that way for me. So I appreciate being seen. I'm like, social media, podcasts, even coaching. Like, I don't feel like this is my like, I am in alignment. This is like really where I shine. So if you like my stuff, if you like my podcast, and you like my coaching, or you like, my social media content, like I'm telling you, it's like it's nothing compared to these retreat experiences.
Yeah.
Telling you.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
come get in the mix,
Yeah.
and like you were saying, the venue Amansala it's spectacular, and the places that are available on the property. It's like, because if you've ever been to Tulum, there's like the main crazy road, and it is crazy. Like that road is nuts. It's like the one road that goes through that place.
Yeah.
It's like you step through the gates into Amansala, into the courtyard and the garden, and then you're just like, oh,
You
this
just
is
kind of leave
and here we are.
yeah.
We have arrived. And
Yeah.
it's, a quick walk through where the kitchen or the dining area and out by the pool into the beach, and it's just this wide open expanse, and there's the like little malokas or yoga shalas or whatever the various
Yeah.
words are kind of sprinkled throughout, and there's a couple that are up high, and it's
It's
it's an amazing
gorgeous.
spot, and it
Yeah.
really is just
Yeah.
gonna
And it's
gonna
right on the
facilitate.
ocean. Like you're right there.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
like, oh, it's a block away and we all are like it's wake
Yeah,
up and you're there.
walk out on the beach,
Yeah.
and the people that work there are all just so happy. It's
Mm.
like there's when we probably experience this, like some people, you go to a resort somewhere, especially in a place that's become popular like Tulum, and you realize that, man, these people are just not that happy that you're here. It's like they have a job and they're like, whatever. That place,
Right.
people are stoked. It's
Aw.
like everyone that works there, the from the kitchen staff to like everyone is just like happy to be there. And
Aw.
the owner really sets that up. I mean, she's a
Yeah,
really good
exactly.
person.
It's gotta be that way.
Yep. Yeah.
Cool. I
Yeah.
can't wait. Well, hopefully
Yeah.
they're local and I get to hablar español un poquito. Haven't done that in a minute.
Yeah.
I know
Fun.
us either. Now that we're back in Miami, we're like, oh, we're gonna be using our Spanish
Yeah.
again.
You gotta,
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. That was so epic. Appreciate you
Thank you.
guys beyond words. We'll link up Be the Wellness. It's BeTheWellness.com, their website. You can check out what they've got going. And of course, we're co-creating this Tulum experience together. So hope you check that out as well. And yeah, thanks, guys. guys. Have a beautiful night out in Miami.
Yummy. Yes. Yeah, people don't miss this retreat. It's been such a labor of love and putting together, like Tara said, so many beautiful facilitators and the energy. And when you look back on your life, don't you want to just look back and see these timelines of like epic experiences where you're like, oh, and then there was Sedona, and then there was Maui, and then there was, Zion. Well, I'm doing this totally in back opposite order. Point being, like you have all of these moments that you look back and you're like, yeah, those were the benchmarks when I became a different person, where like everything changed, and like give that to yourself.
Thanks, Vanessa. All right, guys. Have a wonderful night. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.